Let's start a new session on advanced Unix programming. Today we are going to learn about process control under Unix environment. So in this session we are going to discuss what are the various ways or facilities provided by the Unix operating system to control processes. So we'll discuss about the process control first, what is meant by process control, and we'll see what are the different approaches provided by the Unix operating system to create process and to control process in the system throughout its session. Right. So process control is nothing but process creation, new program execution, and process termination is nothing but process control. So these are the under Unix process control. We are going to discuss about process creation, how Unix operating system actually creates a process, then new program execution, what are the various approaches Unix operating system provides to create to start executions of various new programs, then how a process can be terminated or how Unix terminates a process in the system. So let's start with the first point, that is process creation. Particularly in terms of Unix operating system, process creation is always handled or always done using a system call. We call it as fork or named as fork system call. So fork is a system call provided by the Unix operating system kernel to create a process, or we can say Unix uses fork system call to create new process. Right. So we'll see how to use this fork system call, how it looks in terms of it's a prototype, right? What is the return values of fork system call, and how to use fork in a C program to create a new process. So first we'll see the prototype of fork system call. So let's see the prototype of fork system call. The name of the system call is fork, and its a return type is PID_T. Fork does not accept any argument, so that's why its argument is empty, or we can write void because it does not accept any argument. And to use fork system call, we'll have to include these two header files. First one is c/types.h and second one is uni.std.h. These two header files will have to include before use, I mean while using fork system call for process creation. So this is the prototype of fork. The return type is PID_T. PID_T is basically a long integer type defined in types.h header file, right? And name of the function or system call is fork, and it does not accept any argument. Now we'll see how to use this fork system call, but before that we should know when a new process will be created, then what happens into the system. So first let's see, this is a simple program. This is the main function, and here we have only one statement fork, and there are some other statements. Let's consider this is a skeleton of code. The purpose of this program or the purpose of this code is to learn about the working of fork system call. When we start the execution of this program, C program execution always starts with main, and whenever it reaches or control encounters fork system call, due to fork a new process will be created and existing process remains as it is. So after fork call there are two processes. One process created due to using fork system call is called as child process, and existing process is called as parent process. So here we have two processes. One process is acting as a child process and another is acting as a parent process. Right. Now if there is a process, so definitely program associated with that process, because Process is nothing but a program in execution. So using fork, a new process, child process has been created using fork. So what about the code or program associated with that process? So in terms of the fork system call, whatever the statements we have written, let's assume these are the statements. So after fork call, whatever the statements we have written, those many statements will be treated as code section for the child process. Right. So prior to fork call there is only one process, and after fork call there are two processes running in the system. So after creation of a child process, child and parent process execute in their own address spaces independently. There will not be any kind of conflict in between the parent process and child process. Right. Now we know after fork call, whatever the statements we have written, those many statements will be considered as code section for child process and parent process. So whatever the statements we have written will be executed twice, one due to the parent process and another time due to the child process. We can consider one simple example. Let's consider this simple example. Here we have this main, and here fork function or system call as usual we can say. Then after fork there is a printf statement, and here suppose we have hello, and after that end of the program. So in this program we have only two lines of code. One is the fork and another one is printf statement. When we compile, let's consider this one is source program is p1.c. In Unix we use this GCC compiler, or in Linux operating system we use this GCC compiler, and we say GCC p1.c. Then if everything is fine in p1.c in source program, then it will be compiled and default executable file name will be created. It is a.out. And to execute this program, this executable file a.out, we can execute like this /a.out. Then only program execution starts. So when we execute this program using command /a.out, program execution starts from main, and prior to fork call there will be only one control, one process, right? And when fork system call will be encountered, a new process will be created and existing process remains as it is. So after fork call there are two processes, one is the parent and another one is child. These two processes execute this printf hello statement. So hello will be displayed twice on the screen. At once this will be executed by the parent process, and next time this will be executed by the child process. Right, because we know after fork call the code section, whatever the code we have written after fork call will be shared by the parent process or child process. Shared means those statements will be treated as code section for the parent process as well as for the child process. So what is the use of writing or creating two different processes for the same purpose? So we want to write multi-process application in such a way that parent process should perform some other tasks and child process should perform some other activities. So for that purpose the return values of fork will be useful. So we'll have to see what are the values returned by the fork system call. So now after fork call there will be two processes, one is the child and another one is the parent. So this is the child process and this is the parent process. So there is only fork call. When we start execution of this program using /a.out, there will be only one fork call, and because after fork call there will be two processes. So fork return type of fork is PID_T, it is long integer. So fork returns twice, one value it returns to the parent process and another value it returns to the child process. So what values fork return to the parent and child process? So fork returns 0 to the child process, and fork returns PID of the newly created child to the parent process. That will be obviously not 0 or not less than -1. Fork returns -1 in case of error. In case of success, fork returns 0 to the child process and PID of the newly created child process to the parent process. Process identifier, PID is nothing but process identifier. What Unix does, Unix creates various processes, and each and every process gets their own or unique identifier. By the use of these identifiers, process identifiers, Unix operating system is able to distinguish among various processes, right? So we use these return values, and by the use of these return values we can write a multi-process application in such a way that parent process will perform some other task and child process will perform some other task. So the code skeleton will be like this. We have to declare, let's say, main. We have to declare a variable of type PID underscore T. This is a variable PID, and here we'll say PID is equal to fork, right? And here we'll say if PID is equal to 0, this part will be performed, and here we write else. This is the else part. Simply we have used if else construct in this program. So what happens? Prior to fork call there is only one process, and after fork call there will be two processes, right? One will act as a child and another will act as a parent, right? We know the return values from fork. It returns 0 to the child process and it returns process identifier of the newly created child to the parent process. So this, after fork call, this will be treated as code or program for the parent process as well as for the child process. But the value stored in the variable PID will be different in case of parent and in case of child, because you know variable is nothing but named given to a memory location. After fork call, parent process will store in its own memory location, and parent process will remain in its own memory location, and after fork call child process will be created now, but child process will have its own memory location. So this variable PID will be different locations in the parent and in the child process. So what value it stores in the child? Because fork returns 0, so in the scope of the child process PID will contain 0, and in the scope of parent process PID will contain process identifier of the newly created child. So when we execute this program, this part during the execution of the parent, this part will not be true, this part will be true, and in the scope of the child process, because child returns 0 to the PID, so this part will be performed by the child process. So simple demonstration. Let's say we want to write a very simple program where parent process displays or shows a message hello from parent, and child process shows a message or displays a message hello from child on the screen. So let's write very simple program, demonstration program. Here main, as usual, main function, and here we have declared a variable PID underscore T, and variable name is PID, and after that let's say fork, like PID is equal to our assignment fork, right? And here we write if PID is equal to 0, so message we want to display printf hello from child or hello child, let's say. Else printf hello parent. So this is the program. See, in this program we have fork system call or fork function call. Return value of fork, we have stored this variable PID. What happens actually? This program will be loaded permanently in the secondary memory after compilation in terms of executable file. But when we start execution of this program like a.out, when we start execution of this program using this command, default name, suppose executable file name is a.out of this program. So when we execute /a.out, separate memory locations will be assigned to the parent process and to the child process. So let's say this is parent and this is the memory scope of the child process. Now after for call, whatever the statements we have written, the same statement will be stored in this memory location of the parent, and these many statements will be stored as it is in the scope of child process. But because we know fork returns twice, so 0 will be stored in the child. So here PID will have value 0, and here PID will have value PID of child. Right. So what statements here we have written? If PID is equal to 0, so obviously in the scope of child process this part will be executed, and else we know PID of a child process cannot be less than 0 or equal to 0, so it will be executed. This else part will be executed, and that's why we are able to write multi-process application in such a way that parent process will perform something else and child process child process will perform something else. So this activity provided by the Unix operating system in terms of fork system call is called as process creation. Right, in under process control, this is the first part we have covered, process creation using fork system call. Next part is program execution. So for new program execution, Unix provides various functions or system calls. We call those functions and system calls as exes. Right. One simplest or most widely used system call is execl. So execl is used to start execution of new program. Suppose we have written a program in the similar manner like the previous program. Let's consider fork, right? And here suppose we have if PID is equal to 0, right, and we use execl. So by the use of this execl, we can start execution of new program. Let's say ls. You know ls is a command to show the contents of the current directory or listing of the current directory. So we can use execl to start execution of that ls command. So first argument to this execl is complete path of ls command. It will be obviously bin ls. This is the path. Second one is command itself, and if you want to provide any command line argument to this ls, so you can, like -l. Otherwise, because it is a variable argument list, to terminate this variable argument list, we will have to provide 0. So 0 shows termination of the variable argument list, and after that suppose we write else, and let's say printf higher parent. So what happens in this case? Program execution starts from main, and due to fork there will be two processes. One is the child and another one is the parent. So here PID is equal to 0 will be executed by the child process, but this else part will be performed by the parent process, right? So higher parent will be displayed on the screen. Now here suppose after execl we have written another statement printf higher. So obviously we'll think that due to this execl, ls program will be executed and contents of the current directory where we are executing this program will be displayed on the screen, and after that obviously high will be displayed on the screen. But what happens? Due to this execl, new program execution will be started. I mean this ls is a C program. Executable file is stored under this in this path. So the complete source code complete executable codes of this ls will be loaded in the memory of the child process. So what after execl, whatever the statements we have written, those many statements will never be executed. This is called as memory overlaying. Memory overlaying is nothing but the process remains same. I mean, in this case, in the scope of child process remains same. Remains same means its process identifier will not be changed, but the instructions have been changed. Right here, the after execl call, whatever the statements we have written, those many statements will be overlaid by the statements, executable statements of this newly loaded program. This overall technique is called as new program execution, and there are various functions or system calls provided by the Unix operating system to start executions of new programs within the scope of existing process. These are called as exec function. Basically, there are 6 types of exec functions. One such exec function is execl. So this is new program execution under the Unix operating under the topic process control. Now third point is process termination. We have already covered process creation using fork, then new program execution using execl. Let's see the termination, process termination. So obviously Unix provides a function for process termination. Basically the Unix provides 2 functions for the termination of process. First one is exit and second one is exit. First one is underscore exit and another one is exit. Right, here we need to provide some values to show the status of the process termination, whether if process has terminated successfully, then we'll have to provide 0, otherwise some error code we can provide. So exit and exit and underscore exit can be used in the scope of process to show the to perform the termination of the process. So collectively these things, process creation, new program execution and process termination, is called as process control. So we have discussed these 3 activities performed by the Unix operating system. Unix provides various system calls for process creation, new program execution and process termination. For process creation we have discussed thoroughly fork system call, what are the various values of forks, various values returned by the fork system call, how to use those returned values to distinguish the task performed by the parent process and child process. Then we have learned execl system call we have used to learn new program execution. Particular example we have discussed ls to start execution of ls command, ls program, and finally we have covered